Hey guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom Premium. I'm your host, Mina.
I'm Donald.
And I'm Kaylee.
And we are back to discuss The Glory. We're going to be talking about the first half of the second half. So the third quarter.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about episodes 9 through 12. The first 4 episodes of the final 8 that dropped just yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. Wow. I gotta say, this is fast becoming one of my favorite K-dramas.
Me too.
It's so good. It's so good. It's even better, like, on a rewatch, or if you watch somebody react to it, because you, like, catch stuff, and it's so smart. Oh, it's so good. Besides being, you know, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And watching terrible people get what they got coming to them. It's really well written.
Yeah.
What did you think, Donnie? Overall thoughts?
I thought it was great. I felt like, I don't remember the first half doing this, but this one, I noticed it a lot, that you would see stuff in an episode, and then like 4 episodes later, it'll say, this is why this is what happened during that time.
Yeah.
I don't remember them doing that in the first half, but
they did.
Okay.
But you know what
it's more prevalent maybe this time? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
more
so.
now because so much has happened already.
Yeah. And I think one thing I noticed when I rewatched these episodes was they did something where before they even told you what it meant, there was like a shot of the funeral home and then the meter that tracks how much electricity it uses. Remember, each part of the funeral home had a different meter. The mortuary one, like, they showed it like ticking, and it was in the 3000s or something. And then it just cuts to like whatever, and like, I don't know if we didn't even question it.
No.
You just, and then like later they show it what it means, and you're like, oh, okay.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
See, the only one that caught my eye was when the friends were at the plastic surgeon, and I was like, he knows who these people are because he's seen the pictures. And the whole time I'm like, okay. And then I was waiting for him then to show us him talking to the main girl, and he never talked to her about them. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, that makes no sense to me.
Well, then you probably missed the part, because the only clue that I had was she had texted the flight attendant, Hye-jeong, and said, get Yeon-jin to come to this address. And I remember it was something about the address, and I don't remember what's the name of his practice, but
Did
I
we
felt
see
like
the address? I thought it did.
it was something I remember it was.
But she did text it.
She texted her the thing, and I remember seeing that and like feeling like, oh, that looks familiar. And then when a few scenes later, when it happens that they're there, it starts with the outside shot. And then I connected. I was like, oh, that's right. That's where we'd seen that before. It's when his building sign was being put up. So you knew that she told him to get her there, but you just didn't know why exactly.
See, I didn't catch that until they showed us it later on when he said that to her.
Now,
they showed us that like in a couple episodes later.
Yes. What you're talking about. Like,
right.
then they're like, oh, this is when they decided to do that.
Right.
But what I find interesting is that she sets up these things where, particularly with someone like Hye-jeong, where she's just like, go do this. But she doesn't tell her specifically, like, what to say. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, she told the husband all the bullying stuff.
Right.
But Dong-eun didn't tell her to do that, like, specifically. She told her to get her there. But she didn't tell her to be like, oh yeah, if I didn't have my period, I would have fucked your husband when he gave me this expensive bag, and he told me how he's playing Go with Dong-eun. I was like, God damn. But she trusts that they're just that terrible to each other, that she, you know what I mean? Like, she just puts them in the position to do things, and then they just, their worst selves. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, Donnie. What else were you saying? Or were you done?
No, the only other thing, and we'll talk about it, is I don't like the predicament of the maid or the housekeeper, the ex-housekeeper.
The
I don't, because she's like, oh yeah, I'll kill your husband. But then, okay, why didn't you kill the husband? Like, what are you waiting for?
Okay,
I guess
we'll
you're
talk
using
about
this
that.
woman.
We'll talk. No. We'll talk about it.
This woman's getting her ass beat.
I appreciate your anger on her behalf, but we'll definitely talk about the whys of that, because in particular, Kaylee and I were thinking when we started watching this, I think we discussed, or maybe even on our last podcast, is like, it's not clear if she's still living with him. And I remember saying there was a scene where she had bruises, and it felt like it could have been close enough to the beating we saw her get that it's the same bruises, or enough time has passed that this could be fresh bruises. And then so the episode that like almost begins with her running home and you see the daughters, it's like, oh well, that answers that. Yeah. What about you, Kaylee? What are your thoughts so far?
I love this show. I got nothing but good things, and I really hope it don't disappoint me. I really, really love the doctor guy, plastic surgeon guy from Sweet Home. Mm-hmm. Well, like, the longer I look at him, I'm like, he's so cute. Like, I forgot how, like, he's cute. I love him. But I don't know, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. So I have two things I want to say before we dive into the details. One, I picked up later, after we recorded the podcast, I went and watched these videos of the cast reacting to fan theories, and then also taking a quiz about the show. And it was, I think, in the video of them taking the quiz that I realized one of the questions was like something about what Myeong-oh had given Dong-eun, and I knew that he had given her some of the guy's hair, Jae-jun's hair, because he was like, it was so hard to like get them from the root, because I think he went digging through his brush or something. But I missed that he had also given her information on Hye-jeong's boyfriend, the guy she was trying to marry. And so that explains how she was able to get in good with the future mother-in-law. Do you see what I'm saying? Because she had information on that man and his family ahead of time. So there's that. And
she hasn't even gone back to any of that stuff.
No, she just has her firmly in her pocket.
Right, but we were like questioning what they were up to.
She's taking them down like one by one,
right.
And I'm figuring that's the thing that she can take from her. She's gonna blow that up when she no longer has use for her. And then the other thing is, like, you guys, I think it's great. Like Kaylee said, I love it. It has the potential to be one of my top favorite. I almost said anime. That's racist. K-drama. But one thing I found interesting was, because I'm so glad we did this the way we did, because we had that long discussion about the first half of the season, and then within like 2 days we're able to start watching this. And I said to Kaylee at one point watching these episodes, I feel like a lot of our discussion in that first podcast was about how far Dong-eun has gone. Is she going? How far will she go? Like, will she hurt that little girl? Will she sleep with this woman's husband? Like, what does her overall revenge look like? Will she be happy with it? Right? But then by the time we're watching like the second of these 4 episodes, I was like, now it's just like, oh, she can't go far enough because these people are terrible.
The main. I mean, they kept getting
worse.
Especially the main girl kept getting worse and worse. Like when they haven't gone back to it. They showed us a glimpse of the her assistant, and she has the same burns.
Yes.
But they haven't gone back to that, and I'm like, I'm just waiting for our main girl to find that, and then you start using that girl.
Well, what I think is she's already using her.
Yeah, because
I have a feeling she, like, I don't know, like, how old would you say she is? Because I'm wondering if she's the girl they started bullying when she left.
Probably the girl after.
Yeah, because, and it's funny because I feel like one thing they're doing, it feels like it's on purpose, is that I mentioned this before, there's always a focus on servants in the show and their reaction to how they're being treated, how they notice how, but they never, the bullies, they never stop and say, like, maybe we shouldn't be saying this shit with the hairdresser in the room, the nanny in the room, because they don't see these people as threats.
It really stuck out to me when it was main girl and the flight attendant and
the doctor's office.
I'm like, they're just having this conversation.
Yeah, she's like, I could have fucked your husband. And he's sitting there like, if y'all need some privacy.
And it's in the fact that they really focused on this second half of her mother and how bad, like, both of their mothers are horrible.
Oh, yes, yes.
But both of them, like, the weather girl's mother, I mean, a lot of her shit, like, her mother, like, been covering up for her whole fucking life. Okay,
but, like, she has, but also, like, why is she holding on to that name tag?
She said she would burn it, and she didn't.
Right.
Like, why would you, do that?
I don't know.
I understand why the cop held on to shit.
Yeah.
Right. Because he wants to blackmail them.
Eventually, right? Like, if he needs to. But, like, I was like...
Maybe unless she's really scared of her own daughter.
I guess. But it feels like she has her daughter pretty much, like, under her. She
wants to blackmail her daughter.
In case she has to.
In case she won't do any chores.
But although I still... I still say the name tag is such weak evidence.
Yeah.
It is.
Like, there has to be more to it that maybe I'm missing. Well, it's her own name
tag. And...
Because, like, you see later, we find out the one that she gave Myeong-oh was fake. So you can... Those things, it feels like you could get those printed, like, anywhere.
Yeah, but, like, it was in Sohee's hand, so they could probably...
That's what I'm saying. It has to be more to it. It has to be... They have to feel like there's something in particular about that one. But even still, where's it been for all the... Like, I'm being too realistic, but still.
She held it.
But that's why it's important that the body is frozen and not... Mm-hmm. Which, I don't know. Call me naive. I thought that drawer was iced. Like, was refrigerated.
I think it is.
And to a degree.
Yeah, but I think...
Not for
the
long
freezer
time.
Is different.
Yeah. So I was like, because it was like, she should be black goop by now or some shit. These people are terrible. They're so terrible. All right, let's talk about it. So back before Myeong-oh dies, he was making all his calls, and now they give us more detail into what he was doing. He's basically trying to blackmail everybody, except for Hye-jeong, who he wanted
to run away with him.
The way she screamed when he was like, I like you, and threw that phone. And, like, if you haven't figured it out by now, Donnie, in Korean, like, in Korea, like, when they say, I like you, that's a big deal. That's not like, it's not like, I love you, but it's like,
steady.
Like, I look at you as somebody to be romantic with, as opposed to just being like, whereas I think we would say, oh, I like you, I really like her. That means what it means. There's no deeper romantic meaning there. But in Korea and in these K-dramas, it does. So her throwing that phone was hilarious. Anyway, when he leaves Jae-jun's apartment, he gets in the elevator.
He's got like 5 different coats on.
I was like, why is he walking? Because it's like from the back. And you just see him kind of like waddling. I'm like, why is he standing like that?
And he was only stealing coats. And I'm like, I guess, you're going to Russia. It is pretty fucking cold.
I guess.
Steal some shoes, steal some, like, just coats.
He was such an idiot. And then he threatens her for the name tag, which is information we didn't have before. Right. He was basically, if you want to stay alive, you'll just give me that name tag. The way it presented before was just like they had been working together and she was like, you know, here's my end of the deal. But
he fucked up because he started asking for sex and shit. And...
yeah, he was, because he's just the worst. He's a terrible man. Her husband asks, it picks up where he left off with him walking in on Yeon-jin in Dong-eun's apartment. And he legit straight up asks, have you ever bullied someone emotionally and physically to the point where it drove them to the brink of death? And this bitch never said no, exactly. No. She said, we just didn't get along. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was like, wow.
And then she starts turning it on him.
Yes.
Like, why are you here?
She was like, but however.
So like an affair type of thing. Like, why are you in her house?
I am disappointed in you. And put her cigarette out on the floor and left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he looks around and the pictures and stuff on the wall. And it struck me here. He is surprisingly not once has expressed any kind of fear that Dong-eun would do anything to his daughter. Because she had pictures of that little girl from birth till now. Mm-hmm. You know she's her teacher. You get, to some degree, you know, he's going to learn more, but the level of what she's accusing your wife of doing. And not once was he like, I got to get her away from my kid. He's like, oh, this ain't got nothing to do with her. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's been more focused on protecting the daughter from the other guy and the mother than this woman who he doesn't know, who's clearly stalking your family.
Rose-tinted glasses.
And she notes, Dong-eun is watching this go down because she has a camera. So should we wait? Donnie stepped away. I don't know what to do. Hold on. Okay, so sorry, we had to take a break. Then it was it went on a bit longer than I wanted. But anyway, the last thing we were talking about that I wanted to mention was the encounter between the spouses in Dong-eun's apartment. She had a camera set up, and so she was at the doctor's house watching.
Do you remember what I said?
And she
Do you remember what I said? I was like, I was gonna say this on the last podcast, but I forgot to. As we were watching, I was like, I'm so glad it showed us that she set up cameras to see what's going on, because I was thinking to myself, I would be so nosy, and I would have set up cameras to see what's going on.
Yes, that's right. And she notes here that when he's walking around looking at the pictures and stuff on the wall, he had taken off his shoes when he entered her house. And she remembers, and I don't know if you guys remember that scene where they went to her place. Right. And they, you know, they even like joked about it. They were like, oh, we're so classless. Look at us. But of course they, you know.
She did it again with the fucking... the ex-maid.
She offered her slippers when she came to her apartment.
She's like,
that's
she kicked them to the
side. She's so terrible. Like, I cannot wait for her to. Okay, let's finish talking about this so I can watch an episode. Anyway, so the doctor learns that this part, I think I understand what's happening, but I'm not sure why. So the doctor learns that So-hee's body is actually not in that drawer. She's in the freezer. So she's not in the mortuary. She's in a freezer, right?
Right.
And that she's there per his father's request, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So then that's it. They cut from that. He comes home, and that's where we learn that she's moving in with him. And he just says, I had some business in Seoul. So it's almost like she didn't know that he went looking at the mortuary. You see what I'm saying? Because that's how the season and the first half ended. Remember, was him, right. The opening and the thing was empty. So here he just tells her, I had some business in Seoul. It's like he's keeping it from her that he looked into that body. And then the other question is, why did his father sanction that girl's body being held in the freezer for over a decade? So that's where we are at that point.
Right.
Sarah,
it did. I will say that whole thing played like it was like he didn't know the two things were connected. The girl's body in the mortuary in the freezer and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It played like he was under the impression that they both weren't connected. Like this girl's body had nothing to do with this girl that's moving into his house. That's how it played to me.
Okay, that's definitely not true.
Right.
Because
he should know because
she told him, right? We're assuming so. When she told him everything about her plans, we're assuming she mentioned So-hee, right? Mm-hmm. Has to be, because that's the whole the fact that they think that she committed 2 murders. So-hee and Myeong-oh. Okay. Sarah's detoxing and she's like, wait a minute, did I kill him? And I love it because she's on the phone with Jae-jun and the cops arrive and she's like, she panics and she's like, put me on speakerphone. No, I mean, record it. She goes, oh, I'm going to hurl.
She's stress eating.
So Jae-jun talks to the cops and he tells them that Yeon-jin's husband was looking for Myeong-oh before he died and he was really upset. Little asshole. Then the assistant of Yeon-jin freaks out when she sees Dong-eun. Yes. And we were
immediately like, does she know her? Like,
right.
Why is she
Okay, and full confession, Kaylee and I only just connected, even though we questioned it, the fact that the girl who works at the boutique is also her assistant at home. Yeah. So she works for Jae-jun in his store, but she also works for Yeon-jin at home.
She's like a personal little
right assistant. So when does she sleep?
That's not the same girl.
Yeah, it is the same girl.
It is.
It's the same girl. She has the burns on her arm. So at first you see her freak out, and like Yeon-jin never circles back to question that.
Yeah, because she noticed that she stopped.
Yes.
Like, what are you looking at?
But she was so shook of seeing her enemy that she didn't realize, why were you shook?
Yeah. You should have known her.
Right. Unless they were in school together.
Yeah. But she recognizes him.
Yeah.
So I'm certain she's that girl.
She had to be, because she has the scars, like she got those burns when she was young, just like they did. Like, Dong-eun did.
See, I for some reason my mind went to that those scars are recent.
I did too when I first saw
like,
them. I'm like, she's still using curling irons,
right?
At her big age.
That's why my face is like this. I'd be so like, because I don't know. I'm not trying to victim blame, but this bitch ain't. I'm a grown ass woman. You're not burning me with no curling iron. Repeatedly. You might get one burn in, but then I'm beating your ass. So the two of them sit down and they discuss, the fact that she broke into her apartment. And Dong-eun says, I posted this video online, but it hardly has any views. Maybe I should attach your name to it. And it's the video of her breaking into her apartment.
Like, I was just out there.
Yes. And then, so this is what she does. She says, here's all the evidence of what you did to me. I'm giving you one chance. Go to the cops, tell them what you did, and take your punishment. I'm only doing this because of someone else's gesture of kindness. And fucking Yeon-jin is like, go fuck yourself. She's like, you should be thanking me because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be a teacher. I was like, this bitch. And she says, you just threw away the last chance your husband gave you. So she gave her an out. Mm-hmm. She was like, we can do this the way, like, you could go. You're still going to pay, but you're going to pay.
It'll just be easier than with my method.
Right. Because what I'm about to do, bitch. So I'm about to set your entire life on fire. And this bitch was like, challenge accepted. Dummy. So,
but she fought back.
She's trying. She really is. I'll give her that. So the husband is like piecing it together, right? Because of one of the pictures up on the wall was Jae-jun with his daughter at that crosswalk. And he was like, the fuck? And then he remembers him making that love child comment. He ain't stupid. Classroom. Yeah. So, just in case, though, his secretary is like, oh, by the way, when Myeong-oh couldn't reach you, he left me this message. Here you go. And the message was like, hey, you need to call me back if you want information on the motherfucker fucking your boss's wife. And I was like, what? I had to rewind it, remember? I was like...
Trying to, like, map out all the connections, like, who's who?
So she has a tent sent. She sleeps in a tent in his apartment. He put it together, even though she told his ass, don't open my mail.
She said, I'll set it up when I get the chance. But he said he couldn't help himself.
And then she's like, you couldn't even put me in a fucking bedroom?
Right? She's like, now we gotta carry this shit upstairs. You didn't think this through, did you? So they have a fondue dinner, and he says he looked up romantic date ideas, and when she says, okay, let's try to make it romantic for you, he was like, he was going to sing, remember? And she's like, never mind.
She's like, yeah, I think I'm full. I'm gonna go
I'm getting sick, yeah.
At this point, I don't know why they haven't kissed yet. Like, this
because it's like a K-drama, Donnie.
I know, but this scene, like, in America, they'd
have had sex a bazillion times by now. So then her husband, Yeon-jin's husband, visits the boutique, and now I'm condensing some stuff here. He visits the boutique and goes into the fitting room, and he remembers, this is why I say the show is so well written. He remembers that very, like, episode 1 early conversation where they were talking about how Hye-jeong had sex with his friend in a public space, and she was describing what makes that so enticing. Then he realizes that this is where she has been going to meet him.
Because remember, he was in the closet and he saw the bags.
Yes.
That realization of, first of all, that closet is immaculate.
That closet is amazing.
They've showed that closet so many times with all those blue bags up top.
Yeah.
And
I never made the connection.
Around like, fuck.
Yep. So the bullies get together and they realize that Myeong-oh asked all of them in that phone call about So-hee. So they're all like, yeah, he wanted to know why I went to her academy that night. And Sarah's like, and I didn't tell him, or maybe she did, that you told me to go there. And then it turns out Jae-jun is her alibi, supposedly. Mm-hmm. But he's also remembering, again, that his best bet at getting custody of
is having them get divorced.
Is for her to be divorced. Right. And then it's here that she remembers what happens. And she killed that girl.
Mm-hmm. Set her on fire first to push her
away. Like, there's got to be evidence of that. Like, I would think even, like, bruises or something on their chest. Or something like that. That's the type of evidence that would be on the body.
I just find it so funny that one of, again, our questions at the end, we made those predictions, was, did she kill So-hee? Did she kill Myeong-oh? And the answer to both is yes.
She's that bitch.
It's just been like, who's she going to kill next? Should have been a question. And And so we see, even back then, Dong-eun tried to do the right thing. And she sent the name tag to the cops, but they are fucking shitty. Terrible. And the mom paid him off. Yeah. And Detective Sheen covered it up.
She'd been dead. That woman had been paying off those cops.
To the point where you see all the shit he got, and notice how he has a family home in New Zealand. Yeah. He has a business in his sister's name. So we see though, this blew me away. All of this, like what happened to So-hee, how they covered it up. Dong-eun is actually telling this to the cop who's investigating Myeong-oh's disappearance. She's like, yeah, I gave him this fake name tag because I'm trying to provoke this bitch because I know she killed it, you know.
And he's like, this isn't what I'm here for.
He was like, where are the drugs? What do you know about drugs? Oh. So she's like, I should have known. Kang rushes home to find that her husband has beaten her daughter. This is terrible. But they talk about the fact that she's going to be going to America.
This was so stressful. This
whole going to America
when is she gonna
arc.
Get on the plane and land in America?
And there was one point where I think it's a restaurant scene or something, and I was like, her daughter did get on that plane, right? And then 2 seconds later, one of the characters
was
was
for
like,
America tomorrow.
And I was like, God damn it!
She's not there yet. She's not safe yet.
It's the same thing if the husband's still alive. It's like her king just
right?
Her whole fucking story.
I was like,
but and even I'm just like, okay, now the daughter flies to America, but then, now what?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
So, then the doctor goes to his mom and gets her blessing to go do hood rat shit with his friends. She was like, just don't get caught.
I like how she said, I thought you were like your father, like kind-hearted, but you're like me. I was like,
oh, psychopath.
You want vengeance.
I like his mother.
She was like, just don't get caught. So Dong-eun goes to the nurse and gets So-hee's incident report. She's like, that's the one thing she was worried Yeon-jin would be able to steal from her apartment. So she had the nurse keep it. And we learned that when So-hee died, she was 8 weeks pregnant. Mm-hmm. At one point, Kaylee was like, was she 8 weeks or 8 months? And I was like, child, you saw that girl. She was not 8 months pregnant.
She had that tattoo boy's baby.
Tattoo boy. So who do you think is the father of her baby?
What kind of question is that?
Wait.
I mean,
I feel like it's obvious.
Yeah.
Mommy's like,
okay.
I still think they had a relationship. And it might have been a secret relationship, but I still think
I don't think it was a consensual
I was about to say, I don't know why you keep trying to make it's so funny because he and I had this conversation in the kitchen yesterday, and I was like, or maybe this morning. He's like, this morning, he was like, I told you she's pregnant and it's his, and y'all told me I was stupid. And I was like, first of all, we didn't call you stupid.
Pretty much.
Second of all, why you keep trying to make him into a decent person and giving him something good in his life? No. If she was pregnant with his kid, I'm sure it was rape. Mm-hmm. But I thought he raped Dong-eun. I thought the way that scene was filmed. So I don't know. So at the end of the first episode, Yeon-jin approaches Kang in the car because just as Dong-eun realizes as she's getting rid of the pictures, because she's like, I don't need this revenge house anymore. I'm gonna go live with my boyfriend. She's tearing down all the photos. She realizes there is one missing, and it was the photo of Kang's husband. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This was stressful.
Yes. And they show how she found her because she investigated the husband. She ends up bullying her in the parking lot, where it's basically like, you work for me now. You're going to answer my calls. And it was this great transition shot of the wrapper because she dumped her purse out. Yeah. And it was a candy wrapper floating across the parking lot, and Dong-eun steps on it. And I was like, yes, because I thought she was there. She's going to shut this shit down.
But she was late.
But I was like, oh. And then this was stressful because you're like, did she turn on her?
I was like, no.
But
I never thought she would. I was like, she
was but she's so good because she's not. I love the fact that they are playing it serious. Like when she is talking to her, she is committed to like kowtowing, begging, crying.
Feeding.
Yes, I believe it. There's nothing in there that feels like, oh, she's faking it. Like she's good.
Yeah. Do you remember when Yeon-jin called her phone and it rang on the ground? He saw her. She had her in her contact saved as.
What did she ever save as? The bitch who something
who's gonna end up in a ditch.
Yes. One of my favorite things about K-dramas is that little bit of what people's names are saved as in phones.
It's always something funny.
It is.
There was somebody else that had, I think that they called somebody else a bitch or a dick or something like that.
Yes. One of the guys, Myeong-oh, what he has Jae-jun saved as his phones. Yeah. So Kang gathers up her daughter. Her daughter is like, whose car is this? How'd you learn to drive?
Like, you can't drive.
She was like, it was like finding out your mom is like John Wick. She was like, you are such a badass.
This was also very stressful though.
Yes.
When they were just driving down and like talking and they're having a good time and I'm like, they're
and
get
then
in a car accident.
Because it felt like she wasn't looking at the road enough.
Yeah, I was just waiting for like a sudden moment of just crash.
So, and again, I'm condensing some stuff. It turns out it's all good. The daughter is going to stay with the nurse until it's time for her to leave for America. And Kang is going to lay low from Yeon-jin for a while. Meanwhile, Jae-jun's getting his daughter's room ready.
Like the divorce is already set in motion.
He's like, this just came in from Italy. And like he's got all this expensive ass shit. And then he's the dog shit. Oh my god.
That man said he said something so ridiculous. He was like, people with little kids typically don't have dogs. I was like, that's not true.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? He's like, because they have trouble breathing. He looked at that dog like, sorry.
We really thought he was going to get rid of that dog.
And then later, he's walking with the dog in his arms and
he's like, hey, I just got back from the groomer.
We were like, oh, thank God.
And then I really looked at the dog and I was like, holy shit, he shaved off all that dog's hair.
He's like,
I'm so glad.
And it's particularly sad because he's not getting custody of that child. It's just a waste of everybody's time.
It's better than him killing that dog or selling it off somewhere.
That's true.
I really thought he was going to do that, but oh my God.
So this bitch starts fighting back, Yeon-jin, and she found Dong-eun's mom and paid her
Again. Again?
Yes, to get her fired from her job. And we see the different ways that she does it. She shows up there acting a fool. And then later she starts bribing the mothers
of the other kids
for money and gifts and stuff.
This fucking woman. She was drinking soju straight from the bottle, like they were beers. Just
Listen, I was like, you might have to kill this woman. I'm
so surprised she never even attempted to hurt her.
But it's interesting that I think that's what's kind of sad about it, is that I feel like she just, because it's her mother, so she just still has some, because you could see like later she's so betrayed when she's like, how could you do this again to me? So Hye-jeong gets Yeon-jin to show up at the doctor's office, and that's where we have the whole your husband gave me this bag. I could have fucked him, but I had my period, so I chilled. Oh, by the way, he plays Go with Dong-eun. Bye. She dropped so much shit the whole time. Homie's just sitting in the corner, like looking at the cut on her foot, like. Oh, the whole time they're having this conversation. Oh, and I have to say, I'm not sure anymore. I thought that the nurse that's in the room that knocks the bag over was the teacher, the school nurse.
The school nurse.
Because I know she works with him, but I don't think so. I think it might be a younger woman.
I thought it...
Maybe. I don't know, because she had the mask on, but then later when she wakes up from the anesthesia and she's like freaking out and she like runs out, she doesn't have a mask on and she's like, she bumps into her and she's like trying to tell her to calm down. It's not her. And I think it's the same one as earlier, is what I'm saying. So, but anyway, same one from the other scene.
But the nurse does work with him, doesn't he?
Yeah, she does. She does.
She recommended it.
Definitely does. So then the cop, Sheen, sees his homies, the ones that he hired to like follow Dong-eun, getting arrested. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, why are you gambling? I pay you a salary to just be a thug. What are you doing? And that's when he finds out they got that money from her. Mm-hmm. And he beat the shit out of him
with the chair.
Like, good God. So then the assistant at the shop tells Jae-jun that your mistress's husband was here. And, oh, by the way, she told me to delete these specific CCTV files.
For the 19th.
She had to have watched this footage, so
she knows.
Because she has the weapon, remember?
She has the weapon. She has the bottle. We find out later. Yeah. The assistant has the bottle, the bloody bottle, in her closet. So we see, which we'll get to, how she like had it cleaned up. But clearly that girl got in there before those guys arrived to clean up. And she took that bottle. And it's an important thing because even the thug, the stupid one who's had like 2 lines this whole season, he was like, hey, by the way, don't you think it's weird that there was no murder weapon when we got rid of the body? Yeah. And he was like, shut the fuck up. You don't get paid to think. It's like, no, he's actually asking a really good question. So she went to school with them, right? That has to be it.
I think she's that girl that was getting bullied after.
Because, and I was saying, this is what I was getting at earlier. The way they talk around these people, like, they just don't care. She's privy to so much that can damage them, but it explains why they don't even consider that she would, because they think they've broken her since high school, you know? He asked her to go Christmas shopping with him because he can't tell red from green.
Yeah. You were later with the mom's nails, they're red and green, and you just randomly pointed out that daughter won't be able to see her nails. And I'm like, why do you keep bringing up the fact that...
Because I feel like that's important. Like, I just feel like it's going to be a thing. I don't know. It's going to come into play where it's like, holy shit, that child cannot tell the difference. It's going to be a life and death situation, I think. So this is where Dong-eun learns from the nurse that the doctor asked about Myeong-oh. He showed her footage of him going into the mortuary at the hospital. It was like, this is Myeong-oh, right? And she was like, yeah. I forgot about it, like, until the cops came asking him about him. And she was like, the cops came asking? So she didn't know any of that. So, hold on, I want to make sure I'm saying it. And okay, so then the night that his patient died, when he was running and he spilled the coffee on him, is the same night
his father died.
No. That was years ago. There's in one of the early episodes, a patient of his died. And he was running and he spilled the coffee on himself.
Oh.
Right before that happened, he walked by Myeong-oh. Myeong-oh was leaving from visiting what he thought was Sohee's body in the mortuary, right? Because Dong-eun told him where to go. Okay. Right. So he finds out his patient died. He's sitting there. He's upset. The doctor who works in that area in the mortuary goes to him, the coroner, and says, oh, you wanted to know if somebody goes to visits the mortuary. And he says, a woman? And he goes, no, it was a man. He just left about 2 hours ago. Here's his card. So...
How do these motherfuckers all have just cards?
Because that's a thing in Korea.
Yeah, business
they
cards.
still, yes. I absolutely questioned that when I first started learning, because it was like actually in a lesson. It was about like business cards. And I was like, is this like outdated information? And everybody was like, no, it's just a thing. They still use business cards.
This dude's not even, like, he's just a driver.
Well, you know what? It's interesting because you think in terms of like fiction and storytelling like this, how often a business card becomes like a key plot point. Does that make sense? And you think that you lose that with people now mostly using smartphones and stuff like that. You kind of have to be more creative in your writing and think, if you're using the way people communicate and pass information, contact information along to be a plot point in your story, like how can you achieve the same, whatever it is, using current technology? But in Korea, they don't have to do that because they use both. Yeah, they use both. Okay, so what I want to know is, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but what it sounds like is, at first I thought the father, the doctor's father, was being blackmailed or was crooked and was like, he was helping the cop keep the body in the freezer, you know, as evidence, like whatever, like he was in on it, right? Mm-hmm. But then later you see he just saw the mother begging for justice and saying, no, I don't want to have a funeral because I know my daughter didn't kill herself. And he made the call to move the body to the freezer so that it would be available if the truth comes out, right? Mm-hmm. He just did it out the kindness of his heart.
Mm-hmm. And he thought it was just going to be short term.
Right. Now, the son, for whatever reason, had told the coroner, hey, let me know if somebody comes to the mortuary. Why?
And he was expecting a woman.
And he was expecting it to be a woman. And it was Myeong-oh coming for Sohee, and it was in that conversation that the coroner told him, yeah, it's this body that he came to see a body that's actually not in the mortuary. It's in the freezer per your father's instructions. So that's when he learned about it. So there's this weird...
And at this point,
coincidence.
He's not.
And at this point,
he's not involved.
He's not involved because, and I have went back through my notes because this is before he sees her on the train. Mm-hmm. When he sees her on the train, he knows for a fact she lives in Saemyeong. And then she texts him about the Cialis. And then after that conversation where she's like, I need a headsman, he goes to his mother and says, I'm moving to Saemyeong. So on the surface, this is just a coincidence. But again, right. I'm feeling like she might have targeted him. And that makes me like, she might have targeted him. But it don't feel like he cares. Like, I don't know what he could learn about her. As we heard later, he's like, I don't give a fuck if you killed him or not.
What do you mean by her knowing the body's in there, in the freezer? How does he have to be involved for that?
No,
that's the only thing.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know why he told the coroner, let me know if somebody comes to the mortuary, right? That we don't know why. And whatever, like Kaylee said, he was expecting it to be a woman, right? He, on his own, before knowing anything about her revenge plan, before seeing her again, because this is before he sees her again. You know what I mean? After they stop tutoring each other. He finds out that there's a body that people think is in the mortuary, but is actually in the freezer, and that his father was the one who said that should be the case. And then it just so happens that this body is important to what she's doing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So later, and I'm trying to remember, I have to look at my notes when we get there. She does specifically ask him what you knew about Myeong-oh. Right. See, because he saw the video and was like, oh, this is the guy who went to the mortuary. This is his card. That's all he knew. Later, she tells him, oh, I was bullied. Here's my plan. Here are the people I'm using, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, I think this is the same person. He showed the video to the nurse to be like, is this Myeong-oh? And she's like, yeah, that's him. So now he realizes that there was like the connection, but we still don't know why he was asking that to begin with. Why he had the mortuary being watched to begin with. And so because she just so ends up living with the son of the person who, do you see it? Like for her, I'm saying, I don't feel like it's a coincidence. Mm-hmm. It's making me feel like she had her sights on him. Like, I just don't feel like a lot of these people who are involved, like, peripherally, are like, it's by accident.
Mm-hmm. My brain hurts. I'm just trusting the show. To give me the information.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, as she meets the husband, they're meeting in Seoul so that they can talk, like, uninterrupted, right? Yeon-jin goes to the doctor to get whatever plastics or filler or something. Yeah. I don't know. And she insists on general anesthesia. And I, for a second, for some reason, thought that's the one where you don't go to sleep, because he kind of protested. And I thought, oh, that fucks with his plan, because clearly he would want her asleep. But then I realized, oh, no. She wants to be asleep because she's a coward.
Right.
Yeah.
It almost like she pressured him to put her to sleep.
Right.
Like
but that's what he wanted. Right. But that's what he wanted all along.
Well,
right.
To me, is she was like, I'll have the general anesthesia. And he's like, okay, but first we have to, like, I don't know. It sounded like he said we have to, like, test it first.
Oh, and she was like,
no, just straight to it.
That was like me when I was in labor with you. I was just like, measure out enough epidural to kill me and then back off just a little bit and give me that. That shit hurt. Anyway, as she's counting down, so she's already got the drugs, he's like, oh, by the way, did you know if you don't get the air bubble out just right, you could die if I stick you
Did you know that? Because I knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember where I learned that.
And you see, that's why they'll flick it.
And her eyes start getting big, and then he starts just whispering shit to her. He's like, by the way, my girlfriend.
He was like, what did you do to Myeong-oh? And that's when she goes out. Meanwhile, when she's...
I love how they did, just real quick, like how they did this, because he puts her to sleep, but then we get in almost like her dream, we get the whole what happened. Yes.
And then you realize, oh, was she saying that shit out loud? When Dong-eun meets the husband and they take her jacket and she's sleeveless and you can see like all the scars.
She did this shit on purpose.
I don't know.
Yes, she wore that dress that shows her arm. She did she happily gave them jacket. Like it felt to me like was planned to.
It was, but I also do believe it and believe her when she says they don't bother her.
Yeah,
I get that, but I felt like before this, she would always stay covered up.
She knew that he spoke to his wife, that she denied it, and because she saw it on the video. Mm-hmm. And she knows that she's not telling the full story, so she has to now show him.
In the elevator, they were literally talking about how she said, like, she didn't tell you everything. And I'm like, yes, she didn't. Of course she's not going to admit to putting a curling iron on her, so of course she's going to show him. So they show how she killed him.
told her that he had proof in his pocket, he played her, and because she reached for it, he was like, "Oh, so you were there."
It was a fucking condom in his pocket. The dude just walking around with a fucking condom.
It's terrible. First, he tried recording the conversation, and she realized it and poured alcohol on his phone. She was like, "I'll buy you another phone," but I'm guessing it went to the cloud. And it's funny because I watched that first episode of Poker Face that John told me to watch. Mm-hmm. And that is a big part of...
Right. I saw that.
You saw that, right?
I saw the first episode.
Yeah. That's a big part of, like, the case being solved, is the fact that people forget that the photos go up to the cloud.
Except this girl ain't gonna fucking solve that. She's gonna try to blackmail her own fucking friend.
That's not her friend. That's the whole point. That's why I love that she just gives them the tools to hang themselves and stab each other in the back. Mm-hmm. And then so she wakes up and she's in a panic. And they don't go to that right away. She wakes up and then it cuts to her remembering how she cleaned up. Right? Like after she hit him the first time. Mm-hmm. The first 2 times. He grabbed her foot and scratched her. And I think she ends up after all of that, and then he's laying there like gurgling. She goes, "Yeah, like, hey, like,
quit playing."
Yeah, you play too much. So, I was saying, like, how does she clean this up? Because
that's what I kept
lot.
saying.
I was like, this is...
I was like, I was like, one of her friends or the guy that owns the shop. Like, I was like, who helped her out? Somebody helped her clean all this shit up for any of them to never, like, walk in there next day and not notice anything.
So she called the cop, Sheen, and he had those thug guys that we met already.
I bet you her mom knows too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
she'd probably call her mom, and then her mom called.
Well, okay, hold on to that because we can talk about that later. And we see him. Okay, I get it now. I didn't get it before. When they're getting rid of Myeong-oh's body, he tells her they're going to burn it, and they're in one location. And then he says, "Hold on," right? I think he was going to crematory. I think it was the tray to do that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what did he do? What did he do? And then later, at the end of the episode, it's when they have him. He's been like...
Airtight.
Yes. What's it called? Like shrink wrapped. Yes. And he moved him to the funeral home. Mm-hmm. So that's what he was like, hold on, this is more insurance. Mm-hmm. So as far as we know, he has 2 bodies in there. The 2 people that girl killed. So I
thought so he was still in the freezer.
Oh no, so he's in the freezer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He has Myeong-oh and who else is there? Has to be because
Myeong-oh.
Yeah, it's just the one.
No, because he said that's how. Because we find out later, Kang found the place because she followed him there a couple of times, and she was like, "So then I went back on my own," and she realized that the mortuary was using power
to keep the one body. I don't think it's using it to keep 2 bodies.
Right.
I never said
that. No, it's just the one body.
But so why was he visiting there prior to Myeong-oh? Or are you saying those were the times?
Those were the times.
Okay. I don't know why I
taking
pictured
the body there, and then
I pictured there being just like a whole
tray of bodies.
bodies.
There wasn't even that many drawers because I think it was only like maybe 6 or 9 drawers.
It doesn't smell?
No.
Vacuum sealed, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
All right. So she wakes up, freaks out, runs out.
Do you remember like the episode, the one that ended with her waking up and the doctor's sitting next to her and he's like trying not to laugh.
Yes.
The look on his face.
She's like, I know there was a camera. You fucking weirdo. And then back at the dinner, the husband, she was like so straightforward. She's like, these are my plans. I want to ruin her.
I want you to leave her.
Yes, you're her glory. I need you to be her ruin and everything. And then he's like, I'm not leaving her. And I hadn't really thought about it. I just decided in this moment that I'm not going to leave her. So when can we meet again?
But then I love it.
Because he's like, he's like, I know how to get to her. Yes.
The fourth episode, he's like, wait, I don't know if we'll still be together, but
yes.
He was ready for divorce.
This is perfect. Mm-hmm. Leaving her, no, this gets her worse. Mm-hmm. Better, I should say. Hold on a second. And she didn't seem like that rattled by that. And so I'm always curious, like, how many steps ahead she is. Because there have been so many times where I'm like, oh, fuck. But she had a plan for that. Mm-hmm. And, like, the reveal that Miss Kang, mm-hmm. she warned her. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, he's not leaving her. Okay, so then... She's at Dong-eun's at the doctor's house and she's asleep on the couch. She had her shoes on, which I thought was so weird considering how big she is about that being a matter of respect. Mm-hmm. And he's in the kitchen cooking and I'm like, girl, why you still got your shoes on? But in the refrigerator there's a little box and it says EP on it. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Later we see he took something from
a sample.
Homegirl's cut.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So are we thinking that's what that was?
Well, I guess so. Just put that in the fridge next to the Cokes.
At home, yeah. I dreaded this. He offers to treat her scars and she was like, that's unnecessary. Like, they don't bother me. And he goes on again, like explaining the process, and she's like, "It would be they don't bother me." Mm-hmm. And I love how she's like, "This is for you. To do that would be for you,
right,
or what you think." Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I'm like cool with my scars. I'm so glad. I prefer that over like, because she's beautiful. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm happy that. But I like that she also didn't get mad at him about it. Mm-hmm. You know. Like they don't bother her, but I think she understands.
Yeah.
So the weird teacher with the weird haircut is a pedo.
Mm-hmm. Like I mean, it explains why they have this character, and he's just who he is. Like he just stands out from everybody else. So
that explains
like
so
something
much.
had
it
to
explains
be
the haircut,
right?
Do you remember when the little girl's father came into the school and he's like, I can't remember what he approached him because he was gonna beat the crap out of him.
Right. He was asking like who's, and he said the guy's name. And he went to one guy and he was like, where is so-and-so? He's like, can I help you? He's like, you can help me by telling me where I can find so-and-so. And then he was like this prick or something. So you knew it wasn't good. Mm-hmm. And then the guy was like, that's me.
He's like, I was like, that explains it. Like, you look like the type. That's what I said.
Yes.
You look like the type.
He's like, of course it's you. Of course. But yeah, so they hint at it where we see him taking pictures of the little girls in the jungle gym. And I was just like, this was like, why? What? Yes. It just felt kind of like out of nowhere.
Like, what's the reason? Like, I thought there was going to be a reason for the pictures, but there's never a reason. He's just allowed to just do this. In front of all these people.
Like, the field trip made sense, but the kids playing on a fucking playground and you're like,
yes.
climb higher.
And then he bends down to get the shot. It's so gross.
Shit, and it's just...
So then the daughter is upset. She's doing a lesson and she can't tell the difference between a red and green apple. So she throws a laptop in the tub. I was like, just like a rich child.
And the tub was full of water.
Yes.
Already? Like, was she getting ready for a bath? Did she just get out the bath?
And we don't ever like deal with that again.
Yeah.
Dong-eun has oh my god, I'm forgetting her name. Suna. the daughter who gets sent to America, her cell phone, she has it sent via her friend to Mrs. Kong so she can keep in touch with her daughter that way. Because, you know, they're trying to hide the daughter from the father and Yeon-jin, right?
Yep.
So then the guy at the hospital calls Yeon-jin's mom and was like, oh, by the way, that body's in the freezer. And I'm like, why does she have this connect? Why? This is convenient. I hate these people. So she freaks out. Because he also tells her that Myeong-oh visited and was looking into the body. So then Yeon-jin tries to make dinner for her husband, but he ain't having it. He's already eating a salad. She's like, why didn't you answer my text? And he goes, my silence was my answer. She threw that shit in the trash. And she's like, why? Why are you playing Go with her? And then he gave like the sexiest answer. He's like, first time I saw her, I couldn't stop looking at her. Then she disappeared, and I couldn't stop thinking about her.
And then she beat me.
And my heart, exciting. And then I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I want her to choke me. And I was like, what?
And she's like, you're cheating on me.
The fact that she replies with, see, that's cheating. You're an affair.
That's cheating.
Like, we're even.
Yes. And now he's like, funny you should say that, because I don't ask you shit about Jae-jun. And she was like, oh. Shut her ass right up. That was the first of 2 times that he did that, and it was delicious. So then Hye-jeong pretends to be Jae-jun's girlfriend to get into his car, because Myeong-oh was the driver. She knows his tablet's in there.
And I like how she knew calling him would work. Like, she gave, like, her whole reasoning. And he's like, open it. And he hung up.
He ain't got nothing to do. Listen, at least, I had said before, the only time we see the husband, he's either playing Go, or he's following these Blues Clues, trying to figure out what the fuck his wife is up to.
Or thinking about the Dong-eun.
Right.
That's all he does.
While he's playing Go or playing Blues Clues, he's thinking about her. That's it. Except there's like 2 times where it's like they remind you he has a job. He gets a phone call. He has a hard hat on. There's like a construction site behind him. I was like, this rich nigga don't be at no goddamn construction site. Get the fuck out of my
he's
face.
He's the owner of this construction site. And I'm like,
whatever, I guess.
He up there with a hammer and shit.
I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But the other one, he definitely don't do no work. He's like, whatever, let her in. So, and when she gets the tablet, she hears, apparently they don't let us hear all of it, but later she's like cackling and listening to it again. So
we already saw what happened. I'm assuming.
So I'm assuming the pouring the thing didn't work.
Yeah.
It was still recording it, and she heard everything.
Yeah.
And it went right to the cloud. Speaking of which, like, it was so funny because now she got the audio. Jae-jun's working on getting the video because he took that hard
together. And they're gonna get iMovie.
He took that hard drive to this dude and like bribed him to have that shit ready in 3 days.
And then it's funny because the next time we see him, he's just on the couch, just like looking at the business card, like just waiting. Like
that's when you order something. Yes.
Looking out the window.
You wait to get that your order has shipped email.
Should have nothing to do for the next 3 days.
Can't go to work apparently. He's just gonna go stalk that little girl. So Kane can't be at the airport when her daughter leaves for America because Yeon-jin is the fucking worst. She called the school, found out that there was some trip or something happened. She's just the fucking worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I hate the way she figures stuff out. Like, I guess it's supposed to show that she's actually kind of smart when it comes to, like, this cunning stuff. But, like, because she figured out, oh, let me guess, she's going to kill your husband for you. Well, I'll kill your husband for you faster. I'll do it tomorrow. She's still letting you get your ass beat. I'll do it tomorrow. Like, how'd she figure that out? And then here she's like, is she at the airport?
Like, my friend's a flight attendant.
What they got to do with anything? Anybody can... Okay, whatever. So, but yeah, she bullies her. I hated this.
She comes in with just wearing her heels. Won't take them off. Kicks her shoes aside. Then she's like, "Oh, you know where your husband's been? I've been paying him off to stay away."
Oh my god!
And then she's like,
"I'm gonna come home tonight." Oh god, I hate her. So then her mother tells the cop that the body is frozen and that the doctor, the director's son, has been sniffing around. He's like, "I'm gonna handle it." Meanwhile, Kang is beaten by her husband as her daughter leaves. This was so hard to watch. Mm-hmm. I need him to die sooner than later.
That scene that's like later where they're looking at clothes together, I was like, who's this man? It took me a second to realize that's her husband.
Yes!
Because he's acting so different.
Because Because
they got money
until he wasn't. And then he was like, here we go. There he is. So then Dong-eun tries that ASMR thing with the Alka-Seltzer thing, like with him. I thought that was sweet. But this is right after she get a text from her mom talking about bring me some rice. Right? I was like, why do you spell it like that? Bring me some rice. They turned that woman into white trash all of a sudden. Bring me some rice.
When she came in with that dyed hair and everything else, like she's completely different. Like this girl took her to get a makeover.
She'd just be drinking and dribbling and drooling, just the worst kind of just.
And she doesn't even have furniture in that apartment. Like she, every time they're just sitting on the floor eating and drinking, she got guys over and shit. And it's just like. You can't even get furniture in the house. All you paying your money, all the money's going to liquor.
And what she was doing was fleecing the parents of her students. Mm-hmm. And now what I'm confused is like I feel like they never really did she get fired?
Yes.
Because the parents voted, but they showed her in the rain going through the garbage, and she saw proof and she goes upstairs and confronts her mother, but they don't say if she got fired.
Yeah, and me and Mommy were assuming that she couldn't because she's still blackmailing the guy who owns the school.
Right, because no matter what they vote to do, that man don't want his business out. He's going to be like, well, I'll just reprimand her.
I don't think she could get fired.
But I mean, she was just upset with her mother because...
the betrayal.
Yeah. And then they show that they're in the office and they bought a funeral home. And I didn't connect, I don't think, right away. Or no, I think I did. I said, did they buy the funeral home that he put the body in? And you're like, I don't know. Like, that would be crazy if they did. And then other things happened. Like, as soon as she knew her daughter was safe in America, they put their plan to get rid of this motherfucker into motion. And they set him up to think, Kong's husband, to basically think that she was involved in some sort of scam where he thinks
all she has to do is text people.
Right. And he know it's shady, but he's like, we're going to, he thinks he's going to be able to scam the scammers or something.
Right.
But so when you realize that they're setting him up, right? I was going to say it to Kaylee. I didn't want to be annoying and keep pausing. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking to myself, I love how they waited until the daughter was safe in America to start this. And if they could figure out a way to tie this into the bully, even better. The very next scene starts, and it's the bully getting her makeup done to do the weather or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you learn that the text that she, you just have to send this text. They send a text to Yeon-jin's mother saying, I know your daughter killed someone.
Right.
That scene of her getting her makeup done, that's when she was she remembered she has to avoid people with O's
in their name. That's
and
right,
her
the
assistant
shaman
is one of them.
Yep.
Foreshadowing.
And then, speaking of the assistant, the daughter has on those green shoes, and she goes, these shoes are green, right, Auntie? And she was like, well, they have a little red in them. So.
She knows.
Yeah. So yeah, they show the cop putting Myeong-oh's body. I mentioned this earlier, that he had him vacuum sealed and put in that mortuary. He pays the guy off. At the same time, they show on the side of the road, Dong-eun confronts the doctor about Myeong-oh, right? And she was like, "You didn't tell me because you thought I killed him, right?" And he was like, "No, I didn't say anything because I don't care. I don't care if you killed him or not. I don't question royal commands." He goes, you could choose what kind of person you want to be, and I've chosen to be your partner in crime.
I love him so much.
He was like, "Now can we go?" So then when they go, they pass on the road, the cop. And they do like that slow motion. I panicked because I'm like,
did they see each other?
Right, what happened? Oh my God, because I'm just waiting for
I was like, okay, they're going to where I just knew they were going to go either they were leaving a place that he was going to or something like that, or they're going somewhere, like vice versa, but they either set something up, they're going to where he just left.
So
just by that transition.
So then they just roll up at the funeral home. The guy that he just paid, we saw that he had paid for Myeong-oh's body, it greets them. He's like, "Hi." So then the final episode we're going to talk about, we see, I love this so much. Kang is the one who found the funeral home because she was following the cop and was like, I saw him go there. So then I went back on my own. I was like,
she's doing her research.
And that's when she shows her how the mortuary in particular is using a lot of power.
I just want to know why this guy at the mortuary was even still working. Like who was paying him before this cop paid him?
He doesn't work there. He runs like a store up the road.
Okay.
So he was just giving him money to go and basically act as like a groundskeeper and check on things and stuff like that. Yeah.
Because it was closed. It was supposed to be closed down and out of date.
Yeah, you find this out in the next scene because, all right, I don't want to go out of order, but they cut back to the fondue dinner and we learn it's at that dinner that's when they decided to buy the funeral home.
Right.
Right. And so it's in that conversation she tells him that Sheen just paid, the cop just pays the guy who runs another store to like go in there occasionally. Okay. Yeah. So then, when they figured that, okay, his body is probably in there, right? And she's like 99.9% sure that Yeon-jin killed Myeong-oh. He goes, I'll do what I have to do to get you to that 100%. All you got to do is get her to come to my hospital. So now we see why she did that. Why she told Hye-jeong to get Yeon-jin to go to his...
So that was before that?
Yes. This is him saying, yeah. So, and then Kang, again, pretending to work for Yeon-jin, tells her that she has this guy working for her and he's a doctor and he's tall and handsome. And she's like, "Focus." And then she learns that he is the plastic surgeon she went to and that his family owns that hospital.
Yep.
I love when she freaks out. She like takes all her clothes off and checks all her like what
yes.
you do to me.
And then she after this she sees that girl's dead, the Sohee. Like she has a hallucination. Yeah. So then Yeon-jin's mom is still getting texts, and this time it's like, "We know your daughter kills 2 people." It's just because remember she tells the husband that in the clothing store. She's like, "These people, they've killed twice before." So he's like, "Really? Ooh, now we're going to the Philippines." So he rushes to go bribe them again. But anyway, so the mom flips out. She takes it out on the cop. She just shows up at his job.
He drags her away.
It's like, "Get your ass over here." And then Dong-eun calls Jae-jun, and she plays him so well because she's like, I was going to call her other daddy, but I decided to call you because I know you'll know what to do. Mm-hmm. This guy's a pedo.
He's got pictures of your daughter.
So he shows up.
Immediately. He
ain't got nothing else to do. That's all he do is stalk this child. And pine over that bitch. That's it. He shows up, beats the shit out of this guy right after he had been harassing Dong-eun because he put her on the committee and then made her do all the work for this festival. Mm-hmm. And then when she presented the work to him, he was just throwing it on the floor. And he was like, I hate bitches like you. Step outside, follow me. And I was like, oh, I can't wait for him to die.
He got his karma so quickly. I'm so glad they didn't make us wait long.
No, like immediately he got his ass beat. So, yeah, so I mentioned that Kang's husband gets greedier after learning about 2 bodies. The guy asks about the murder weapon. We learn that homegirl got it in her closet. I'm presuming she's working with Dong-eun, right?
Right.
It'd be so cool if she was working on her own, though. Like, she's got her own plan.
Yeah. Dong-eun buys drugs from the tattooed thugs that she had helped her deal with the other thugs that were following Kang. She pays them again to get her some drugs.
She's like, I don't know how it works. Set it up for me.
Can you prepare it for me? You're like, all right.
Get the bubbles out.
Meanwhile, Sarah is throwing a literal temper tantrum. Sada, I should say. Because she wants her parents to send her to a country where she could do drugs legally. Mm-hmm. And they won't. And she literally throws herself on the floor.
Screaming and crying.
She looked rough, too. Like
yeah.
They made her look like somebody had drugs and... Wow.
I thought she was going to die in this episode. I really
I did, too. Like,
yeah. I kept waiting. Yeah.
This was my... when I was talking about her dying, I said she's going to have an overdose. And I really thought this was it.
To-hyung, the husband, beats Jae-jun's ass outside the police station because he is the legal guardian and his daughter is on that camera. So it's like 2 separate things. There's him assaulting the teacher, which Jae-jun's going to pay a settlement to the teacher for that. But the teacher is going to be charged with those photos because To-hyung, the father, is handling that, like pressing charges for that. And Jae-jun
is like, why should you do it?
Yes, and he can't. Even his homie is like, dude, if you don't shut the fuck up.
When they were fighting, and he's like, don't hold me back. And he's like, I'm not holding you back, man.
He's like, you just got your ass beat. You still think there's hands on you and ain't no hands on you.
He was...
He got his ass beat.
Yes.
I didn't know he could fight like that.
He got one punch, and that was it. That's it. He landed one.
And it was because he was the first one to throw a punch, right?
Yes.
That was it.
Yes. And then after that, it was just, he caught all the hands. So then, they had shown the cop meeting with, when he told the Yeon-jin's mom he would handle it with the body. Meeting with somebody in charge of something, and they're like threatening the hospital, like, who told you to keep that body in there? What are y'all using it for? Blah, blah, blah. So they come to the hospital to tell them to move it to the mortuary, and the mom says no. Mm-hmm.
I love this.
Yes.
She's like, no.
I'm calling your bluff.
Nope. It's just going to stay there.
This guy's going to be like, fuck, I can't do nothing now.
Mm-hmm. And then that's when they show the flashback of the dad seeing Sohee's mother pleading. And, yeah.
So was the girl that died, was she deaf too?
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's such an interesting choice that they made the mother deaf, though. Like, I wonder if there is, like, a story-related reason for that, or if it's just cause.
Right. I want to say, I think I forgot to mention it in that scene where I said that she got the file, the incident report from the nurse, because she had her hold it, because she knew Yeon-jin would go to her apartment. She says, this is the only thing I didn't want her to get her hands on. She's like, how'd you get it? They show her. Now, here's the thing I think is, I could be way off. But But the flashback begins with her in the hospital, and she's staring down the hallway at somebody or something, and they never show what she's looking at. And she turns to walk away, and she sees So-hee's mother. I'm telling you, and this was back in 2011 or 12, whatever the flashback, this scene where they show it. I don't know. I feel like she was targeting that hospital, something. But anyway, the mother pleads with her, and she says, maybe that's why I lived, like, to get justice for So-hee. And that's why I like what she told her. I'm glad that you didn't take this last chance, because now I have no guilt.
I go all out.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm sorry. I lost my place in the notes. Oh, and then they showed the flashback of the dad doing it out of kindness, right? We agreed no ulterior motives. The dad just...
Yeah. Right.
Okay. And then this is a little confusing. The mother called the doctor because Yeon-jin, once she found out that the doctor was her boyfriend or helping her, she gave that information to the mother, said harass him too. She's trying to do to her what she's doing, like get rid of all the good in her life, right? But like they're at the same restaurant. It's almost like he stood her up. Because remember, isn't she texting him saying, I'm here, where are you, or something? The mother. Dong-eun's mother.
I wasn't really paying too much attention.
And then he leaves and he says, I'm paying for her food as well. And that was something else he did that she didn't find out about till later. Remember? Because later he tells her, oh yeah, your mom.
Right, because she didn't even know that he knew her.
Right. So I'm just confused about that. Like, did he do that just to keep her busy? Just to feed her? Like, I don't know. So then the husband tells Yeon-jin that he knows that that's not his daughter, but that's always going to be his daughter, even if they're not together.
Yep, he's getting custody of that child.
The moms confront Dong-eun. We don't see what happens. The next thing you know, she's like digging through the trash, I think outside of her apartment where her mother was staying, and she finds something something to do with one of the parents, like a package or something. And when she goes upstairs, she sees that she's been getting all these like extravagant gifts and money from these women.
Yep.
And she starts cutting it up, and the mother hits her and ends up like cutting her face. And she tells her she has a week to get the fuck out. Jae-jun confronts her as she's leaving, because this makes sense because nobody knows she lives with the doctor.
Yeah,
everybody thinks that she lives in that apartment, which the mother was threatening, right? Like if she can look up by county records, like because she's a relative and get her address. That's right. So he confronts her, and she won't get out the car, and then the doctor shows up and almost runs him down. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Here's my card. If you...
And then he tries leaving. He's like, if you don't move out the way, I'm going to run you over.
Yeah.
And he meant it.
And then so she's able to get away. And then Sarah
Do you believe that at this moment that the mother texted him, or do you think he was following her?
I think he was following her.
I think he was following her.
Really?
Because he tells her that her mother called him or texted him, whatever. But I think he was following her.
Okay. And so it ends with Sarah, the drugs that she bought, she set Sarah up. Dong-eun set Sarah up to do drugs at the church.
Like, we've seen that room before, right?
We have seen the room before, but I don't remember what it was.
I remember seeing that cross, and I'm like, there was a scene that took
Did
place
she
in that
paint
room
that?
before. No.
Did she paint that for her dad's church? Because it's a painting, right?
The cross? No, it's like something with lights on it.
Oh, okay.
It's like somewhere where they all met up once.
Maybe, but we've definitely seen that room before. I just can't remember what happened in that room.
So she shoots up, and then the people start running out the church because they get messages on their phone, and they go to the room where she is, like, masturbating and, like, just
hallucinating,
and they're all just it's like that.
Like, why do they care so much about?
Because she's a celebrity. Because she's they're saying because she's a
video. Oh, right, artist. That's right. She's a famous artist.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. And so Yeon-jin shows up. She's like, "Is this you?" She's like, "This means nothing. She's a first-time offender. She has a drug problem. Like, she'll be out in no time." She was like, "But what about you?" So she posted online that there's an anonymous forecaster accused of school bullying.
Yeah, she put all kinds of evidence out there.
Right, but she doesn't say her name.
Now, who was this girl that? So I'm confused on who this girl is that she had do this.
Do what?
Oh, the hacker girl. It's the girl that she worked with when she had that job.
Remember when she was studying for her GED, the girl would come home and take her shoes off?
Yes.
Yeah, that's her friend.
I forgot that.
They
kept showing this. I'm like, who the fuck is this girl?
Yeah.
Curly hair.
Yeah, you see her. She's, I think she's at Sohee's mom's house when she's on the computer, because the mom is like in the background, like staring out. Yeah, so they're doing this for her. So that's it. I don't want to talk about nothing else because I really want to try to watch an episode before I go to bed.
What time is it?
It's late. Look at that. Nico's saying the same. Let me just double check that there's no feedback. There is for, a different show. All right. So that's it. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week with the final 4 episodes of The Glory. We don't even have to do predictions or anything because we already made some and nobody's dead yet.
It's coming.
All right. We'll talk to you next time.